Social media, it's kind of like this massive, crowded, and really loud room. And it feels like the people who shout the loudest get all the attention, right? They're the ones taking up all the space. So it's super easy to assume that being visible is the only thing that matters. But what about the people just standing quietly in the corner?
We see two main types of people online, don't we? On one side, you have the broadcaster. Their life is an open book, and every single moment feels like performance, almost like they're looking for a reaction. And then on the other side, there's the observer. They're there, for sure, but they hardly leave a digital footprint. Now, at first glance, you might think, okay, one person's engaged and the other is just absent. But that's the big question we're asking today. Does being quiet online really mean you're absent, or could it mean something completely different? Psychology actually suggests it might be a sign of something much, much more powerful.
So let's completely challenge that first assumption. We're going to explore this idea that digital quietness isn't a weakness, and it's not a lack of interest. It's actually a deliberate and pretty powerful choice. I mean, think about it. We live in a culture that is constantly screaming at us to share, post, perform, and document everything. So in that environment, choosing restraint, that takes real intention. It's a profound act of strength. So what does this quiet strength actually look like? Well, it turns out it reveals 5 key psychological signs. Let's dig in and explore what's really going on behind the silence. First up, control over exposure. The first sign is all about control. Specifically, control over your own personal story. This isn't about being secretive, it's about having agency. The psychological concept behind this actually has a name. It's called boundary regulation. And a great way to think about it is like this. Are your curtains always wide open for the whole world to look in? Or do you get to choose exactly when and for who you lift the blinds? And this quote just nails the mindset. See, people who practice this kind of restraint, they understand that once you share something online, it's not really fully yours anymore. So they treat their own experiences with care, like something valuable that needs to be protected, not just put on display for everyone. Okay, number 2 builds right on top of this idea of control. This one's about self-worth. It's about having a sense of identity that is so stable, it just doesn't need constant validation from an audience. Imagine 2 performers on a stage. One of them needs the applause to know they did a good job. That's what we call external validation. But the other one, they know they gave a great performance no matter what the reaction is. That's internal validation. People who post less tend to have their self-worth anchored inside. Their confidence isn't measured in likes or shares. And that brings us right to sign number 3, which, wow, this is a big one in our culture today. It's about being comfortable with the idea of being unseen. And that directly challenges this modern fear that if you don't document a moment, it wasn't real. Come on, we've all heard this, right? This question drives so much of the pressure to turn our lives into content. But the quiet, confident answer to this question is simply, yes, of course it did. Here's the crucial point. An experience doesn't need to be documented to be valid. Someone with this trait can enjoy a beautiful sunset without ever feeling the need to pull out their phone. They're actually present in their own lives, not just producing a highlight reel for an audience. And that's a form of emotional independence. The 4th sign is a massive, massive mental health benefit. By choosing restraint, these individuals are way less likely to fall into that endless, exhausting game of social comparison. Psychologists have a term for this, of course. It's called upward social comparison. It's that feeling you get when you're scrolling through your feed and you start measuring your own life against the perfectly curated, often fake, highlight reels of everybody else. It is a game you can never win. And what it does is it creates this nasty, vicious cycle. You see the polished vacation photos, you see the promotions. Then you measure your own reality against them. And then you feel this immense pressure to keep up, to perform, to compete on that same exact stage. But here's the beautiful part. Simply by not engaging in the performance, you break the loop. By opting out of the constant broadcast, you feel less pressure to compete. And this frees up so much mental energy to focus on your own progress, not your public positioning. And the final sign we're looking at today is a fundamental shift in perspective. It's all about seeing social media as a tool for connection, not as the stage for a performance. See, it all comes down to a really basic question. Are you using these platforms for mass attention, performing for a crowd, or are you using them for meaningful, direct conversations? People who practice digital restraints almost always prioritize the latter.
They're looking for depth, not just display.
Oh, I love this analogy. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's selectivity. They contribute with purpose. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room, but about having something meaningful to say when you do choose to speak. So when we put all these pieces together, a completely different picture of confidence starts to emerge. And in our digital age, it turns out true confidence isn't about shouting the loudest. That quiet person online, they're not invisible, they're not absent, they are self-contained. Their world is full, their experiences are real, and their sense of self is strong enough that it doesn't need to be publicly advertised all the time. In a world that's obsessed with exposure, choosing not to broadcast every moment might just be the ultimate sign of self-assurance. True confidence doesn't need a billboard.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. The next time you're scrolling through your own feeds, just consider this. What if the most important, the most interesting, and the strongest signals we send aren't the loudest ones at all?